Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2025 NFL Mock Draft, brought to you by Wolf Sports X. Simon Erickson, also known as Seven Innovator. We are going to get right into things the way this is going to work. We are going to each take 8 teams, as there are 4 of us and 32 teams total. Simon will have the first pick. Zach will have the second pick. I will have the third pick. Ryan will have the fourth pick, and we will rotate in that order around and around until we get to the end of it. We're probably just going to do the first round. We'll see how we're feeling, how fast we go through that. If we go to the second, I would say for each person's pick, maybe make a couple of comments and then make your pick, and we'll take it from there. Simon, anything you'd like to add on to that?
Gav and Zach and Ryan, I can't tell you how excited I am about this. We are normally talking about stocks when we're on your Wolf Financial show. It's kind of neat to be breaking out of that mold, talking about NFL football, one of my other loves in my life, and it's going to be pretty exciting to be doing a mock draft here. I'm pumped up, man. Let's go.
Perfect. Let's hop right into it. You've got the first overall pick.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to rotate round robin. For every 4 picks, and I'm on the clock first as the esteemed Tennessee Titans. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody. They've been saying this for several months now. They're going with Cam Ward. They're going with the quarterback of the future. It's time to retire Will Levis and send him back to the bench as they bring in their new franchise signal caller. I'm just going to jump right in there and put Cam Ward number 1 going to the Titans.
Very nice. There was a tweet today from Ian, one of the NFL insiders, and he was basically saying, they've made their decision. They're going to take Cam Ward. Grok, which was super funny, does summaries of these, and Grok said, the Tennessee Titans have officially picked Cam Ward as their first overall pick, so I thought it had already happened, which I love AI not having total context. But yeah, there you go. It seems like the obvious pick right now. Now for the hard pick, the Browns at number 2, Zach.
Yeah, I know. And I've gone back and forth with this quite a bit. It would be pretty nasty to put Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter, just having 2 guys, just absolute game wreckers on the defensive line, right? But having said that, it really is hard to pass up a talent, I think, like Travis Hunter. Just the possibility of what he could do on both sides of the ball and just kind of be able to impact things. Like, look, do I think he's going to be out there for every single snap on offense and defense? No, absolutely not. But just the thought that he could be out there impacting game, both sides of the ball, that he wants to do that. Obviously, as a franchise, another thing you have to think about, he's going to sell a ton of jerseys. Everybody wants a Travis Hunter jersey, right? A lot of excitement. He's a fun player, more so maybe than I don't know. Edge rushers can be fun, but like guys like people that are skill positions. So yeah, I'll go with the chalky pick here, I guess, and go Travis Hunter.
You want to hear the case against Travis Hunter? I don't know.
Sure. Tell me what's wrong with a generational athlete. Yeah. Yeah, let's hear
it. The case against Travis Hunter is that he's being called a generational athlete because he played both sides of the football, but nobody has played both sides of the football in the NFL since Jim Thorpe, which was in the 1920s. And there's a good reason for that.
Sure.
The reason is, 1, you only get paid to play one side. You do not get paid double to play both sides of the football. So you are doing twice the work for the same amount of money. Makes no sense. Number 2, Harbaugh actually came out and said this earlier this week. There are simply not enough hours in the day to possibly learn an entire NFL offense and defense repetitively and go out. So what I think, I think Travis Hunter is a great athlete, could be awesome. But what I think the problem is that he is going to be one of the highest drafted wide receivers ever, potentially, because of the vision of him playing both sides. But I do think it's unrealistic for him to do that. I also, reminder, weighs 188 pounds. Guys get injured very rapidly in the NFL, right? And here's a bigger problem. If Hunter's playing cornerback and wide receiver for you and gets injured, now you have to replace 2 positions, not just 1, right? So you get yourself into a bit of a hole there if he's actually playing both sides for you. So with that being said, I think ultimately he's going to be picked to play one side of the ball, maybe play a few plays per game on the other side of the ball. And when you think about it that way, is it at a premium enough position to be taking number 2 over some of the other guys? And that's the question.
Yeah, because I think that here's what happens. You use him on offense primarily. I think primarily he's an offensive weapon, a guy that you get the ball to and you try to get him out in space, let him do his thing. And then he can come in as a nickel guy on court, whenever they're on passing downs, clear passing downs, you bring him in for those. Like, it's not like he's necessarily out there every single snap on defense. But you bring him in, passing downs, like he obviously has the conditioning. Yes, I know the NFL, there's an adjustment period there for sure. And yeah, I think it's a very valid concern, like the time, the film study, all of that, having to study film with two groups, two units, right? But at the same time, I don't know. It's just like the talent that I see, the athleticism is enough to take a gamble on, I think.
Yeah, he's a really interesting player. Everyone that goes to the Browns gets ruined. So I'm interested to see someone get smoked.
Right.
That's just an absolute hellhole. So I'm intrigued to see what ends up happening with them. So there you go. I mean, listen, it's not by any means a bad pick. I'm just basically speaking to taking him at 2, right? If you're getting Travis Hunter at 5, it's a whole different story, right? Than taking him at 2. I think it's an interesting area. I'm definitely just going to go chalk right here for number 3. Easy pick once Travis Hunter's off the board. I actually think that the Giants are in the easiest position of this entire draft. You literally just take either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, whoever falls to you. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Abdul Carter obviously has some stress fractures, which can be a potential concern, but you can't pass up on him at this point with the production that he had at Penn State. So you just got to go ahead and take him. And the New York Giants, it's a bit awkward for them. To be honest, I think they'd rather have Travis Hunter because they already have a very strong defensive line. But with that being said, you're still not going to pass up on a talent like him. I also don't think you're going to trade out of this position. So I think you just take him.
There's a front office battle with the Giants going on right now. Joe Schoen, the general manager, notoriously on the hot seat right now. The Giants have not performed well in the last couple of years. Their head coach, Brian Daboll, also on the hot seat. And then, of course, on the other side, you've got the owner, John Mara, longtime owner of the Giants. They seem to be at odds with one another. It seems like Schoen and Daboll want to take Abdul Carter / Travis Hunter right up front. And then you've got Mara, the owner, who probably maybe shouldn't be getting involved in these decisions, going out and publicly saying, we are prioritizing number 1 and first and foremost in this draft, the quarterback of the future for this team. It's going to be really interesting to see which direction they ultimately go, kind of who wins that battle, or if they're going to try to find a way to do both of them on draft night here on Thursday. But I agree with the pick. I think it's the right pick to go with Carter at number 3, personally.
And Ryan, this obviously leads to you in a really interesting and tough position for the Pats, who originally thought they were going to get one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter when people thought Sanders would go number 2, but now we're just in a rough position and really are so annoyed at Joe Milton for winning that game. So go for it, Ryan.
Yeah, this one's tough. The Patriots, to me, I think they really need to beef up the offensive line. And I know it's not a sexy pick to take an offensive lineman this high, but I just think that's what you have to do because that's what you really need. I mean, you've got a new young quarterback in there that you've got to get his feet under him. The Patriots just struggled, right? Their defense played pretty decent at times. I was eyeing what's the guy from Penn State? What's his name? The edge rusher. That was, gosh, I can't think of his name because I just clicked off of it.
Carter.
Okay,
Carter.
yeah. I was eyeing him, Abdul Carter. That's right. I was eyeing him, and I said, I don't think so. I know there's some people projecting the offensive tackle from LSU. I like the offensive tackle over at Missouri a little bit better, so I'm going to take Armand Membo right here. Elijah Drinkwitz, offensive-minded coach. He was under the Gus Malzahn camp. I actually came up and played underneath them, so I know them pretty well. They're comparing this guy to Jason Peters, who was a former Arkansas guy who played tight end in college and then went to be an all-pro tackle for years and years for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that this guy has that same athletic ability at the offensive tackle position, and I really think that the Patriots have to shore up that offensive line if they want to do anything going forward because they were just so inconsistent on the offensive side of the football.
Got it. Simon?
Okay, love the pick. I'm up next, number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars, brand new head coach, brand new general manager, offensive-minded head coach, Liam Cohen, comes from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What did he do when he was at Tampa Bay? He ran the rock. He ran the rock for 150 yards every single game. He loved to run the football. He's just an offensive-minded guy, but really the Jacksonville Jaguars have got to establish some kind of run identity. Travis Etienne, he's good when he's good, but he doesn't seem like he's very dependable. He always seems like he's injured. It gets like under 15 carries a game. A lot of people in chalk have been putting Mason Graham here because we know that the Jaguars need to fix the run defense. But I think with a new offensive head coach, offense-minded head coach, he used to be an OC before this. I think you bring somebody like that in there, you let him run his scheme on offense, and you give him the number one best offensive player in the draft outside of the quarterback. So I'm going to go number 5, as crazy as this is with the Jaguars. I'm going with Ashton Jeanty. You know, everyone and their dog has been mocking this to the Raiders at number 6. I think the Jags are very aware of that. They want to establish a run game, give Trevor Lawrence, you know, somebody to take the heat off of him. And we've seen Jeanty at Boise State, such a playmaker, can run, you know, take off and go 50 yards or 70 yards from the line of scrimmage. I feel like that's what the Jaguars really need right now. I think they'd be crazy to pass up an opportunity like that at number 5. So Ashton Jeanty, running back at a Boise State, I have him going number 5 to the Jags.
Wow.
Somebody's got
like
to
that
heat on that pick.
I like that pick a lot. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they have enough running backs there, right, as it is, right? You know, between ETN and Tank Bigsby, right? And I feel like they even have maybe a couple others too. I don't know. I'd almost maybe try and get Trevor Lawrence, maybe some help up front, up on the line. But hey, I don't know. Hey, it's your franchise, right?
It's one that, you know, there's plenty of opportunities. The Jags have an early second rounder. You know,
They need a lot. They need a lot of help.
They have a lot of needs. They have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people would say, hey, this is a running back is not a premier pick. You know, you go after a tackle or something like that if you're that high, unless it's Ashton Jeanty. You know, they can get a cornerback at the top of the second round. They can get a defensive lineman in the third round that'll be functional and useful for the defense. But in terms of what they need some kind of offensive identity. They got to put points on the board, you know. I think that this is an opportunity to get a very rare talent. Jeanty's ready to go, man. Whatever team drafts him is going to get day one production out of that guy. Okay, number 6 is up next. I think this is back to you, right, Zach?
I have myself down for 7.
Oh,
the third pick is number 6.
Is this back to you, Gav? I've lost track.
No,
sorry guys. I don't know what happened. My Wi-Fi just went out, so unfortunately I'm not on there. I wanted to give a big reaction to Ashton Jeanty going.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You know, I think a lot of people, when you look around the league, the problem is with taking running backs high is when you look at the running back market, what's on there, and it's researched a little bit, of course, with, you know, Saquon Barkley and others, but it's positional value, right? And it's what you're paying for positional value. And so here's the reason that people make this case, and I didn't realize it until I saw how big the numbers were. So when you look at like a quarterback, for example, on a rookie contract, oftentimes they'll make, let's say, you know, $20 to $30 million on that initial rookie contract. And then their next contract, if they get a big one, could be 130, right? $200 million. A running back or a wide receiver, similar thing, right? Maybe they make 15 to 17 million off that first one, and then they make 150 million sometimes on the second one. Running backs are just different. You know, a running back, if you take Ashton Jeanty that high, he might make, you know, 15, 16 million on that first contract. And even if he's amazing, his second contract might be like 40 million, right? And so you just look at positional value and just how the league values it. And so I think that's just like my quick thoughts on it. I think Ashton Jeanty's awesome. He made a great case for why people should draft him. Which team did you take him for? The Jaguars? Yeah, that's pretty interesting. God, I hate that my computer's not working right now. I was looking up depth charts. Who's the current Jaguars running back?
Travis Etienne. They got Travis Etienne as the 3-down back. They've got Tank Bigsby, you know, kind of the bruiser right behind him out there. A couple backup guys, I think, other than those two. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm up next, and I have the Jets, I believe.
No,
is that correct?
You have number 6.
Wait.
Is the Raiders?
I'm third though. You have 6 because it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think you
Then
got
he took 5.
1, 2,
then you're
3,
6.
4, and 5 have the same. 4 and 5 is back to back. It should be if we're doing.
Oh
if we're
no,
snaking.
I don't think we're snake drafting. I think we're just drafting top down.
Oh well, all right. Well, that changes my sheet here a little bit, but that's fine. That's fine.
Sorry, buddy. It's all you. You got Oakland. I've got Jets.
Okay. Let's see. Well, that would have been an easy pick on Ashton Genty. That's where everybody
I
has
had
him
to mix it
pegged
up for you, Zach. It was too chalk. It was getting way too chalky. Everyone's just going to go with the consensus.
Yeah, that's where everybody seems to have him pegged for. I tell you what, let's go. I'm okay with taking Mason Graham here from Michigan, giving them a little bit of pass rushing up the middle, interior lineman on the defense. I think that, it's obviously, yeah, they're losing. Or I should say they've taken 2 tight ends back-to-back years. Like, I think offensively they're okay. Obviously, quarterback they are not, but I think they're content to just kind of let that play itself out. Quarterback by committee almost a little bit. They tried that last year with Gardner Minshew, and I don't know. I don't know that I am particularly sold on the other quarterbacks here on the board, at least not this high up in the draft. So if Genty's gone, I'm going to take a top tier defensive interior lineman here, Mason Graham, Michigan.
Nice. Yeah, it's not a guy that I think I have a ton of insight on, but I know that everyone just talked about his arm length, right? Or was that Will Campbell? It's Will Campbell with arm length, right? He's
That's
the guy who has like the shorter arms. But
Mason
yeah,
Graham has
Mason
short
Graham.
arms too, but they like to complain about guys in the front line that have short arms.
Yes, short arms, even if it's like a half an inch difference. Cool. I want to make it so I want to think I want to make an interesting pick for the Jets. And I just think that people, in order to understand this pick, right? Obviously, like you could look at the Jets and say, like, hey, everyone needs O-line, right? But they still have, Ola Fashano and John Simpson and Tippmann and Elijah Vera, Tucker. Like they could use some O-line. It feels like if you're a Jets quarterback, you're just consistently going to be running, and now you have Justin Fields, right? And Justin Fields is just going to be like panicking back there. But as much as I want to give them O line, I would ask people to take a look at the current pass catchers that are signed to the New York Jets. It is a ridiculous roster. Obviously, you have Garrett Wilson, and then you have nobody. And I'm not kidding. Here are the names after Garrett Wilson on their depth chart. Alan Lazard, he's going to be released. Tyler Johnson, no clue what he's doing. Malachi Corley, rookie who pulled the classic "I'm dropping the ball as I run over the goal line" for my first TD last year. Listen to some of these other names: Josh Reynolds, Xavier Gibson, who's a returner, Irvin Charles, Aesop Winston Jr., Brandon Smith, Pokey Wilson. Who's Pokey Wilson? Okay, like I don't know who these people are. I've never heard of them in my life, and I follow the NFL very closely. Their tight ends are worse. They lost their only good tight end, that's Tyler. Now they have Jeremy Ruckert, Stone Smart, Zach Kuntz, and Neil Johnson. Neil Johnson sounds like a guy who landed on the moon last week, right? Who are these people? So I just can't pass up on it. I'm gonna give them Tet McMillan out of Arizona. As much as people are trying to say that Luther Burden is maybe the best wide receiver in the draft, I don't think that they need a Luther Burden. I think that, to be honest, Burden kind of reminds me a little bit of Garrett Wilson. And I would say instead to give them Tat, someone who's big, can stretch the field, kind of replace that Alan Lazard, to be honest, and just give Justin Fields some type of target to throw to, because right now they have nothing.
I can't argue with that pick, especially because Garrett Wilson and him are so different, right? Garrett Wilson's kind of the speedier receiver. Ted is kind of the bigger, throw it anywhere within 10 feet of him and he's going to catch it. Justin Fields is not a very accurate quarterback, so that's probably a really good pick for the Jets.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Back to you, Ryan. You're up next with number 8. You got the Panthers.
Yeah, what do you do here? Don't they have like 27 picks in the first 2 rounds or something? I feel like you can't pick wrong here if you're the Panthers. And that's why I'm having to look at this of who's available and who's going to be available. I really would like to take a receiver, but I think we've got to shore up the defense here a little bit. And Mykel Williams out of Georgia, he's an edge rusher that I'm a big fan of. I don't know how far he's going to be down on your.
They don't like him on this chart. I guess not, huh? There he is.
There he is, right there. He's actually the second ranked edge rusher. He's behind Abdul Carter. That's probably why he goes a little bit higher in this draft. maybe they take situationally, maybe they take a receiver here. I don't know. I think they have multiple picks to kind of deal with. They probably trade out, honestly. The Panthers probably trade out of this spot and give it to somebody that's looking for somebody. But Mikael Williams, he played for Georgia, edge rusher. The dude was an absolute monster. He's a tank. He's 6'5", 260. I think he ran like a 4.5 at the combine or something insane, 4.4, somewhere in there. The dude's just a machine, right? And he gets to the quarterback. I think the Panthers have to get some more defense going. I mean, you've got Bryce Young. They can pick up a receiver. I do think maybe later in this draft, they pick up a speedy slot receiver. Bryce Young running for his life back there a little bit, find a slot receiver to just get open for him. But in this case, I think you've got to bulk up the defense. They have big needs. If you look at anything with the Panthers, they have big needs. They need a safety. They need an edge rusher, and they need a linebacker too. So I think they've got to address that here. So I'm going to go down the board a little bit, get Mikael Williams out of Georgia.
What does PFF have him ranked?
I don't know what that ranking was. I know he's the second edge rusher. And
Emp is just going to take all SEC players, aren't you?
Hey, I might. Actually. I might.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there's a good question, but dude, when it comes to defense and it comes to some of these SEC monsters, like, I don't know. I've seen the tape on these guys. That's where my expertise is going to be.
I will say most teams, it's not like people say, hey, this team, where they went wrong by drafting too many SEC players. That's really where they screwed up their team. So in your defense.
Yeah, that's an easy way to defend. If you're a general manager and you're like, well,
the guy
was a star in the SEC. What do I do?
Yeah, when in doubt.
Pan out. All right, that's my pick for Carolina in the 8th slot, and we're back to New Orleans here.
Okay, time for me to rep. I got my Drew Brees jersey on here. I'm a lifelong Saints fan. You guys know that. And that's kind of why I went in the order that we wanted to, not to get the top pick, but to get the Saints pick at number 9 here. Anyone who's been following the media has seen all of the tweets / ESPN headlines / YouTube videos, whatever it is, about everybody's claiming Shedeur Sanders is going to stay in black and gold and go right from Colorado Buffaloes to New Orleans Saints. He is by far like the most popular pick here for number 9. I am not doing that. I am not drafting Shedeur at number 9 with the Saints. I know that Derek Carr is hurt, or maybe hurt, or he thinks he might be hurt. He's filming podcasts with his brother in California right now, rather than being at the voluntary workouts. And we know also that our offensive line has been in wheelchairs and on injured reserve from the last couple of years. And we know that our pass rush is in elderly care because they need to retire rather than keep signing on, $10 million contracts. But I'm actually going to go after one of my players, same thing like you did, Imp. I'm not putting as much faith into the rankings here as I am going with my gut of who I think is going to be the best player for the Saints. They've got a brand new defensive coordinator coming in. Brandon Staley worked at he was actually the OC, or excuse me, head coach, I think, actually at the Chargers. And
yeah,
reunited with Kellen Moore, coming back to Kellen Moore, and he runs kind of a real adaptable scheme, and I think it's going to be a completely different looking Saints defense this year than it was with Dennis Allen last year, who's now gone up and been as the DC of the Bears. So I'm going with Jalen Walker from the Georgia Bulldog here. I just think he's just this chess piece that can be used in so many ways. Like, the Saints need speed on the rush, right? Cam Jordan, like 150 years old now. All of our guys kind of just falling apart on the front line, and we just don't have a pass rush identity. Jalen Walker, man, I saw this guy tear up my Texas Longhorns in the playoffs last year. He can do everything, and he's got the greatest football character and the greatest football IQ. He's got the leadership that would fit in with the Saints defense. I am so excited you guys left me number 9, Jalen Walker there. That's the pick I'm definitely going with for the Saints.
Absolutely love that pick, and I wouldn't surprise me to see some of these, like Georgia's defense, some of these guys to go back to back, as people start grabbing defenders there. And one of my former teammates and friends, Demario Davis, is getting pretty old for you guys over there. Great leader, great motor, but he's on the back end. So hey, maybe he takes this guy under his wing a little bit. I like that.
He's my hero, man. Next time you hang out with him, please shake his hand for me. That guy's awesome. Okay, number 10, coming back around. Now the Bears are on the clock. That's back to you again, Zach. Chicago, a lot of options on this one, man.
Yeah, I think this kind of made my decision pretty easy here. You get your quarterback. The next thing that you want to do is be able to get them some protection, right? We saw Caleb Williams running around quite a bit. I think you know, some of his bad habits from USC kind of came into focus where he is improvising a little bit too much, going off script, trying to run around, make things happen that aren't necessarily there. Um, and you find out that in the NFL that those windows aren't open quite as often. So with that in mind, I think I'll go ahead. Will Campbell, the tackle LSU, get him some protection. I think this is a no-brainer. I mean, I think the Bears would be thrilled if he fell to them here at number 10. I'm not particularly a Bears fan, but as somebody drafting for the Bears, I was like, I was doing cartwheels when he dropped here to this pick because that is exactly what they need. If it's the one of the best interior, or I should say, offensive linemen on the board, not interior. But yeah, Will Campbell, LSU, go ahead and get Caleb some protection finally. They have plenty of offensive weapons, I think. Get him some protection, give him some time.
It
Very
makes
nice.
sense, right? You've got Ben Johnson coming from the Lions and, Mr. Assemble the Wall, and then put together your running backs to, run behind these massive dudes that just clear everybody out, in their wake. Goodness gracious, man. You can't go wrong with Will Campbell with the line they've already put together this offseason.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
You're 11, the 49ers.
Yeah, what don't the Niners need? They kind of got destroyed. Everybody left. Scroll up for a second. I just want to see who's been taken already. Just making sure. Cool. Mason Graham's off the board. A couple others are off the board. Okay. Yeah. So honestly, I feel like they kind of need everything. So I go back to, I love looking at depth charts. I think it's something that's super fun to do where you can kind of see, and I know that not everything is like perfectly updated at this point when it comes to these things, but the Niners really lost a lot of depth across the board, specifically, I would say on the defensive lines. But, they still do have Nick Bosa, but, the Niners defensive line has always been something that has been really, really strong, right? Like that is like known as like their thing. But now when you look at this, the people around Nick Bosa, so he's the right defensive end. When you look at the other people there, Robert Beal Jr., Drake Jackson, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis. I'm not really sure I know any of them. The left side's a little better. They have Yetur Gross-Matos, but then after him, Kevin Givens is okay, but then Evan Anderson, Alex Barrett, Sam Okeanu, Jonathan Garvin, they really don't have like any depth at all. And then their O-line, they kept Trent Williams, but beyond Trent Williams, you don't have anyone there. I feel like you have to build from the trenches here because you still have, Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle. Like you don't need offensive skill players. And then your back end, you still have, Fred Warner and some of those guys, Mustafa and a couple others. So I feel like it has to be a trench pick here. And so when I look at, the trench picks right here, and I look at, guards, centers, tackles, the obvious picks are off the board with, Mason Graham, Will Campbell gone from the board. You could take somebody like Walter Nolan is very highly ranked up here, on the defensive line. But I feel like they probably want to bolster. Oh, gosh, I'm a little torn between the offensive and defensive. I think I might take Josh Simmons for them. I feel like could really use a tackle here. Simmons, he's got the only reason that I think he's going to even, fall lower is because he did have that ACL tear in 2024. But just a very elite player when it comes to flexibility, leverage, and other items like that. So I'll give them Josh Simmons. I just think that anything in the trenches they could really use.
Gob, can I chime in and say how much I actually like this pick? It's going against the consensus. Most people are so scared of that knee injury with Simmons, right? But you get him to kind of heal where you've got Trent Williams, right? So it's not an immediate need, at least at left tackle for him. He gets to learn from one of the best the league has ever seen at the position, how to get the technique perfect for him. And then on top of that, you have to protect your asset, right? Brock Purdy is coming up on an extension right now. you can't rely on Trent Williams to stay healthy through a whole season to protect him. You need a young guy like this to protect. It's a great pick against
I
the.
appreciate that. And Trent Williams is great, but I didn't even name him. Could you I could feel like I could give you 60,000 guesses and you could not guess who is playing right tackle and their backup for the Niners. Do you have any idea who plays right tackle for the Niners?
It's Colton McKivitz.
How does he freaking know this? Okay.
McKivitz.
McKivitz. It's
Something
McKivitz.
Irish sounding.
I don't know this dude. McKivitz, and he's questionable. And then their backup is Sebastian Gutierrez. I don't know, man. That's a good pull right there that you pulled Colton McKivitz. That's crazy. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think in reality, Josh Simmons, scouts are going to be scared and he's going to fall. I would agree with that, but I don't actually run the Niners, so I just get to have fun here and take picks that I think they need.
Love it. Okay, Imp, back to you. You're on the clock, number 12. You got the Dallas Cowboys.
That's interesting. I don't know. We didn't even plan that. But so look, my team is we're all kinds of out of sorts here, right? You want me to pick here? I'll give this is for the crowd here, for you guys, or not the crowd, but for the panel. Should I pick like Jerry, or should I pick what I think we actually should take? Should I do the realistic Jerry Jones pick?
This is
Or
your
do you want me to
team,
take
man.
the offensive tackle. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
this is
here's
your
the thing.
team.
All right, well, I can tell you what I think is going to happen, and this is not the pick I'm going to make. What's going to happen is Jerry's going to take the wide receiver from Texas, Golden, I think's his name, that grew up in Houston. He's the Texas kid. He went to UT. That's what Jerry Jones is going to do. Okay, I'm not going to do that. We have a massive problems on our offensive line, massive, and it's going to take more than just one pick. This kind of forces my hand because of that tackle pick that just went right in front of me. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go with the FCS champions, North Dakota State. This is Gray Zabel. He's an offensive guard. He's going to be about 30th probably down your list. He's the top-ranked offensive guard. This is what we need. The best 3 tackles, I think, are now off the board. So I've got to get our interior offensive line better. We couldn't run the football at all last year, not even a little bit. It was brutal. So, hey, let's beef that up a little bit. I know this sounds like a wild shot. I've actually read where some people think that this is a sneaky pick for the Cowboys this year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this player go in the teens somewhere. It may be 15, maybe to 20, but with Dallas needing him bad, 3 tackles off the board, let's take offensive guard right here.
It's intriguing, Imp. I mean, you're going to get hate mail for calling a Zabel this early in the draft. People are going to, what? How can you not take the receiver? Jerry's going to call you personally and complain about this. But I mean, you just had Zach Martin, your legendary, what was it, right guard, just retired, and it's whoever the guy that got drafted last year, Guyton, I think from Oklahoma. He's not doing so good.
He got absolutely brutalized, just the whole season, brutalized, and that's why I would take a tackle. But how do you take a tackle to replace the tackle you just took? You've got to work with the kid. Maybe you get somebody, a free agent to come in at tackle, a veteran to come in, step in, fill that hole, and teach, coach the young kid up. But you've got to beef up the middle of the line just as much. I mean, the tackle, you can help them out every once in a while. The problem is the interior line was so weak, you couldn't run the ball. The tackle was on an island the entire game.
Dude, the Bisons also crack me up. That team just wins the championship every single year in their division. It's hilarious. They won again.
They won. This is the first time since 2021, but they've won like 11 titles in the last 10 or 15 years or something like that.
I just remember when Carson Wentz was there and they won like 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. It was crazy.
Yeah, and then Trey Lance.
Yeah, Trey Lance was he?
Bro, they were.
Yeah, then Trey Lance went there and won titles with them too. Yeah, and then that's when he was like a top. Yeah. Tricked people into thinking he was like an elite quarterback, which I think he's on the Cowboys now, if I'm not mistaken.
Did we keep him? I thought we cut him. I know we have Joe Milton.
All right. Let's
get off the Cowboys here.
Okay, Dolphins.
Okay, that's back to me, and
Welcome to Miami.
I've got a tough decision here between 2 of my Longhorn alums here. who would both be a really good fit for the Dolphins. The Dolphins need a cornerback because when Ramsey's going to get traded, right? Jalen Ramsey's on the trading block, or they have requested a trade, or they're going to deal him, and you need a good cornerback. But I don't know, man. They just lost their left tackle too, and Tua has got a long history of concussions and injuries and stuff. I believe he's a lefty, so a left tackle wouldn't be his blindside protector, but it's still an important role that they got to fill. And man, I just saw Kelvin Banks just perform at such a high level in the SEC all last year, blocking the best edge rushers from Alabama and LSU and all these good teams. And it's people love to find reasons to complain about him. He doesn't have long enough arms. He doesn't have a good enough bend. You can't be a tackler at the next level. But I mean, even in the worst case scenario, if he's a guard, they can move him inside a guard. They need offensive line help. To me, this is just a no-brainer. This is kind of like the best case scenario for the Dolphins. I'm going with Kelvin Banks, number 13, left tackle out of Texas.
Nice. I've heard good things.
Yeah, and again, I guess kind of getting back to the Bears thing is that, what, teams never said, man, we have too many good offensive linemen. We have too much pass protection. Maybe we need to get rid of some of this off of the books. So, yeah, you can't go wrong picking there. I believe I am up next, right, with the Colts?
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, another easy pick, I think, for here as far as need-based player availability. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. The Colts have not had a good tight end since Dallas Clark. It's been a hole, between guys like Jacob Tamme, Colby Fleener, Mo Alley Cox, just guys that are not giving you great production at the tight end position. Not great blockers either. They're just kind of, I know that they brought in Eric Ebron after he kind of flopped out in Detroit. He didn't pan out particularly well. They drafted a kid out of Virginia a couple years ago in the middle rounds, and he's had some injury troubles. He just hasn't quite been there. But yeah, Tyler Warren, Penn State, this guy will be able to give you some blocking a safety outlet at tight end for, whether it's Anthony Richardson or I'm sure at some point, we'll see some Daniel Jones starts, whether it's from injury or benching on Anthony Richardson. So yeah, give him a tight end, give him a little bit of a weapon, helps on the blocking side, helps the quarterback with an offensive weapon to dump off to. Yeah, Tyler Warren, Penn State, tight end.
Yeah, Warren's a beast. Big boy. Really interested to see what he'll end up doing. And yeah, they have a huge hole. I didn't think you mentioned their starter for the Colts, Drew Ogletree. Yeah, not doing a whole lot there.
I don't know if he's the starter though. Was he if he's a free agent? He's never started a game for them, I don't believe.
He is currently listed as their starter on ESPN. That's what I'm going off of, and I hear you in that I don't even know if he played in 2024. Did he?
No, yeah.
Why do they have him listed as a starter? I don't know. He's first on the depth chart is Drew Ogletree. And then they got Jelani Woods in the back.
Yeah, Jelani Woods. That's the guy. That's the guy from Virginia that I was saying that they draft. But he's been injured every season since they drafted him.
Yeah. Cool. I'll run this pick. I think this one's relatively straightforward. The Falcons, very similarly to the Niners, feel like they're very loaded on offense. A lot of first overall picks. Surprisingly, they still don't have a ton of wide receiver depth. They have obviously Drake London, who's in there, and then I actually don't mind some of their guys. Darnell Mooney and Polk is in there, and Ray McLeod pulled some stuff, and Kyle Pitts. So I'm not going to add to that in the first round. This team needs depth on the edge. They do not get sacks. They get no sacks. They were last in the league, I think, in sacks. I'm going to take the Mike Green pick here. Mike Green is at edge out of Marshall. The knocks against him. Marshall doesn't really play in a very hard division, and he's only been starting for 2 years. But he is definitely 90th percentile when you look at numbers in win rate and run fronts. He also, I believe, Atlanta, they do a base 3-4-D which I believe works pretty well with the style that Mike Green is used to being in. So I think there's a couple of good picks there, and they just need somebody that's going to get them some sacks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you saw this guy at the combine just running through Josh Connolly. It's like, he's not going to be stopped. Definitely not by my Saints in the NFC South. So good call, and definitely a pressing need. Feel like every year we say, when is Atlanta going to take a pass rusher in the first round? They never do. This is the year they got to finally do it.
Got to do it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. 16, I think that's back to you, Ryan.
All right, so I've got the Cardinals here, which is an interesting case. I feel like the Cardinals have decent weapons on offense. They could probably use a tackle here, but they definitely need some defense. Every Cardinals game I watched, I feel like they had some big holes on defense. I feel like they got ran over. I don't know the exact stats on this, but I want to say they were in the back half of the league in rush yards given up, which their offense kept them in some of those games that they probably shouldn't have been in based on their defense just not performing well. So I'm not going to go too far here. I'm going to go to the fourth one down on your list there, Jihad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. We're going to beef up that linebacker crew a little bit out there in Arizona, try to slow down some of that rush. The rush attack of other teams. And he's kind of a versatile guy, actually. If you watched him in Alabama, the guy could get to the quarterback when he needed to. He can get off blocks. He's a really good run stopper as well at that athletic linebacker position. So that's my pick for the Cardinals.
Beautiful. Bengals. Simon.
Oh, geez. Okay. Bengals are up. Man, I want to take an edge rusher. I wanted Mykel Williams for them, but I don't think he's already off the board.
Yeah.
Imp, you got him. You took him early for the Panthers. Let's see. A lot of edges off the board here. Bengals have a lot of need. Jihad Campbell would have been a good one too. I wanted to take an edge for Cincinnati, but I think at this point they're going to, they got a lot of needs, right? They got this is like one of those teams, like the offense is in place. Like Burrow's going to throw for like 400 yards. He's got like 17 good receivers to throw to, and they're going to put up like 45 points in a game and still lose somehow because their defense can't stop a running nose. And there's a lot of reasons for that, man. I think, where is he in here? I've got to go with who I think is probably the best fix for what they have. Goodness gracious, we're down here quite a way. Derek Harmon is who I'm going to go with for this one. Just a wrecking ball of the defensive line. Plays the defensive tackle, kind of a 3-tech. Like he can play a bunch of positions, but like he's always going to be in the backfield. He's so disruptive. He's like 320, 330 pounds, but he moves like he's 250. Like if there is anybody that can fix the front seven of the Bengals, outside of a really good edge rusher, I think that he's the guy that can do it. Doesn't look like PFF doesn't really like this pick. They have him ranked a lot lower than 17 here, but I think that in terms of what the Bengals need, that's a right fit for me. Derek Harmon out of Oregon, defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yeah, I've heard good things about him too.
I remember that first Ohio State Oregon game. He went off. He was a game wrecker for most of that game, and I think that's probably why Oregon did so well. Yeah, Ohio State, they kind of fumbled it, whatever. They gave the game away a little bit, but he was a major game wrecker. That name stuck out to me from that game.
He is, man, and he's good against the run too. Like some of these guys, they start getting the momentum. 330 pounds running right for the quarterback, and they can't stop. Like they fall down 10 yards down the field. It's like you can't put the brakes on, but like Harmon can stop the run too, and he's kind of like the total package right there. He's one of the better defensive tackles, I think. Okay, yeah, Zach, back to you, man. You're up at 18 on the clock for the Seahawks here.
Yeah, and again, I guess not a pick to overthink here too much. I know that the Seahawks definitely need interior line help, but just if I was them in this position, I would potentially try to trade down. But secondary is also a big problem with Seattle right now. They could use, and seeing that your guy Barron dropped down this low, I'll take him here at 18, cornerback out of Texas. To kind of solidify that defense, give them reinforce the secondary, and I think you're getting a really, really good shutdown corner over there.
Nice. There you go. All right. I think that this
I-
pick. Oh yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I don't know. It doesn't have that listed as a need for the Seahawks. It has center guard and an edge defender, but like they definitely have needs in the secondary. They consistently got torched on defense, especially on the outside. So I think this is a big time need for them.
Yeah, they definitely have a few needs, but I'll be honest, they have to get some O line going there. Take the pick, but I would think that they might go O line personally, just because I don't know if you saw last year, but Geno Smith was running, and Sam Darnold is worse than Geno Smith under pressure. So we shall see what
So
happens.
would you think they just go way down the board? I mean, because like all the like I'd say the vast majority of like the high end offensive linemen are gone at this point at 18. So like I don't know, would you go deeper down the board, try to trade down, maybe try to grab somebody in the second round? I guess what would you do there for Seattle?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, the good news is that they need guards, and guards are usually a little bit easier to get than some of these tackles.
Later, right.
Um,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if Josh Connerly has been taken. There's another guy, Tyler Booker, who is a guard. So there's a couple of guys that I think they could go for. They might be considered reaches, but I really do think that they need some O line. All right, I think
Either way, just to chime in on that too. I mean, like you're right. It's probably not the most positional need for them. I mean, Darnold is going to get killed if you don't put some protection for him. But on the other hand, it's like if you go by best player available, why is Jahdae Barron still available?
Right.
Right. Yeah, no, totally fair. Speaking of which, I feel like my guy here is just an easy pick at 20 because of best available and need. It's gonna be Jihad Campbell for them if he hasn't been taken yet.
He's gone.
Poor Gov. I think he got taken.
He was gone at 16.
Grabbed him by the Cardinals. That was him. That was Ryan that got him from you.
I was looking at him and I was like, all right, well, to be honest, I think it's pretty straightforward. He's been, I mean, oh God, and you guys took Jalen Walker already?
Yeah, you got to make some phone calls. You got to get the Saints on the board and say, hey, we want your guy now.
Wow. All right. Well, I guess that's an issue for me because they really need a linebacker. When you look at it, I mean, that is their need on Tampa. They've got an aging Levante David, and I think Anthony Walker is getting a little old too. He's 29, and then not a whole lot behind him. JJ Russell.
Once they turn 39, you can trade him to the Saints, and we'll start him as our edge rushers.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick's in there, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I really was gonna go with a linebacker. I feel like they need a linebacker, but with those guys being gone, I feel like you're going pretty far down the board to get a linebacker. So I do think that I don't know if they would go wide receiver here with just because Chris Godwin is, having to rehab. I actually feel like their offense is pretty good. So let me see. Defense. They've got Vita Vea. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll just take I'll take that guy who's actually at the top because I think that they could use some extra defensive line with Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss here for them. The defensive line is not great, but yeah, at the end of the day, I really think they're just going to be hoping and praying that a linebacker falls to them.
All right, that gives me Denver Broncos, and well, this one's interesting. This is a tough spot because Bo Nix needs some help with some weapons. He has a little bit. The defense we know is solid out there in Denver, right? We know the defense is solid in Denver, so they're going to take a running back or a wide receiver. This is tough because I think there's probably a little bit more value in wide receiver, but they need a running back. They need one bad. They have McLaughlin, and that's it. Look at their depth chart. Tell me if you've ever heard of the second or third string running backs over there, Estime and Tyler Batty. I mean, sorry, that does not even ring a bell when I really think. I mean, you're going into a deep NFL fan if you know those guys, or maybe a college football fan that remembers them. So I'm taking a running back here. Sean Payton. I know a lot of people are going to look at Trayvon Henderson out of Ohio State. I'm I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the North Carolina running back. I believe he was like third in the country. Yeah, Marion Hampton. I believe he was like third in the country on yards after contact. I feel like that fits a Sean Payton. That fits the hard nosed Bo Nix style. Run it behind the pads. Get hit at 3-4 yards, turn that into a 7-yard gain. He's that type of running back out of North Carolina. That fits Sean Payton. That fits the Denver Broncos, and especially when the weather gets rough out there, and maybe the footing's a little shoddy out there at Mile High. Hey, we want a strong running back behind McLaughlin. That's my guy.
The Broncos are about to have a killer year, man. I mean, like honestly, them and the Seahawks and the Bears, those are, in my opinion, the three teams that they come out of this draft with a good haul. Like they're making a serious run in the playoffs, because the Broncos, first of all, they have Peyton, who's a great developmental coach for a quarterback. Bo Nix, good reason why he was so good. He had a fantastic quarterback-friendly coach, and he had a fantastic offensive line, and they've got a good defensive line too. And it's like now all of a sudden you start putting some skill players like Marion Hampton around him. They're going to put up some points, and like they're going to be tough to stop. I like the pick. Okay, let's see. Next up is 21. That's me. Okay, the Steelers. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh,
Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, everyone, like, what do we do, right? Is Aaron Rodgers doesn't even want to play. They're begging him to come out and pay him, like, I don't know how many millions of dollars to be their quarterback. And he's just like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go hang out in South America and take my, hallucinogenic teas.
Ayahuasca.
But then I don't really think that after the Kenny Pickett experience, they don't really want to draft like a Shedeur and develop. Like they want a guy who's ready to win now. TJ Watt is like, defensive player of the year potential. Like they're in win now mode. They just got some good receivers. It's like, I feel like Shedeur, he's going to take a couple of years, right? I think maybe they make a trade. Maybe they trade for Cousins from the Falcons, who don't seem like they really need him right now. I don't see them going quarterback here. I just don't. I think that they have to go with Jim Harbaugh's favorite guy, Kenneth Grant, who is just like this run clogging 340-pound mountain of a man. I think Harbaugh like referred to him as like, a gift from the gods of football at one point. Like he just loves him, and he loves Colson Loveland too. But I think that he loves Kenneth Grant a little bit more. And like Harbaugh is just like, he's a get in the trenches kind of guy. Sorry, I'm not saying this right. I'm saying Harbaugh, and I'm meaning the Steelers. I mean to say Mike Tomlin, not Harbaugh, because I'm on 21 for the Steelers, who really need that upfront kind of defensive line, just like the Chargers do. So Harbaugh's guys are gonna be pissed at Tomlin.
Yeah. I was slamming the table in my war room.
Yeah, no, I misread the number. I thought I was at 22, and then I was like, but it's the same need for both of them. And I think that there's no way the Steelers are going to give Grant back to Harbaugh, because that's the number one need for the Steelers right now.
The number one, outside of quarterback, right? I agree. I like this pick, because the only other way, I don't think you go with Shedeur Sanders. I think Jackson Dart, has actually been looked at them a little bit out of Ole Miss. But once again, is he ready to come in? I think you have to go free agency, and I think you have to go defense. I'm with you.
Controversial though. I mean, again, people are going to be sending hate mail for passing on Shedeur, but I think that's the right call for the Steelers.
I think we're going to see this happen on draft night. Actually, I think we're going to see a lot of teams pass on Shedeur. I think he's going to fall very far. That's my opinion.
I was just going to say, we're kind of seeing it in real time what could happen, because it's not like there just aren't a lot of teams outside of the very, very top that need quarterback. They just need help elsewhere. And or at least they don't need quarterback enough to take a chance here on Shedeur. So, yeah, I mean, this is the free fall that we could end up seeing on Thursday.
Yep. All right, Zach, back to you. I already talked about Harbaugh on half of my pick, but I know it's actually your pick for the Chargers.
I know, because I was all ready to go with Kenneth Grant, but I think, with that being said, I'll still stick with Harbaugh, taking one of his guys, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan.
Big tight end guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I had all teams ready to take tight ends, even the Rams at my.
Not just you. I'm saying you. I mean, you with your picks, but Harbaugh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know. And I was like, all right, when I looked at the Chargers, this was easy. Either Kenneth Grant, number one. Yeah, Loveland was a good consolation here at number two. He still gets one of his guys. He still gets a big contributor, just kind of on the other side of the ball, right? And, kind of fills an obvious need for the Chargers. Get Herbert a little bit of help, a tight end outlet. That the Chargers have kind of been a little bit of a revolving door at tight end, trying to patch that up together. So get Harbaugh, his guy, back. Yeah, Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan to the Chargers.
Very nice. Especially because I was about to take him for my pick. Lovely.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like the Packers just don't have a lot of holes. When you look at the roster, they've got a lot of high picks on this roster. They picked up a great safety, last year in Xavier McKinney. They've got good edge rushers, Lucas Van Ness, Sean Gary, Quay Walker's in there, Edward Cooper at, linebacker. I feel like your offense is pretty good. They haven't had too many problems. I think ultimately I'm probably I have two sides. One, they have a bunch of good wide receivers, no great wide receivers. I wonder if the answer is adding Luther Burden into the mix. I don't know if that helps, throwing in another, young gadgety wide receiver for them to work with when they already have Dubs and so many of these other guys that are up there. I really like Jaden Reed, but he didn't end up doing too much. A lot of people like Dontavian Wicks. He didn't really do too much. And so I do wonder if that is the answer. But on the other side of things, I do feel like you could have a little bit of a O-line piece here for them as well. And I think that those are kind of like the two areas that I'm looking at. I'm kind of looking at Tate Ratledge is one of the guys who's been standing out to me. Either him or did someone already take Donovan Jackson? Is he off?
Mm-mm.
I think he's still on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's available.
I like Donovan Jackson here. I'll give them Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. I think that with him, he's not a flashy guy, right? But for a group like the Packers who already have, I think, a lot of guys who stand out, just having some good, strong depth and, a guy who's really an adult in the room on such a young team, I think would fit really well. He's a senior coming out of college. It's not going to be just another young head, have some maturity. I think he'd fit well with them.
And not to mention, man, he had to fill in for Josh Simmons when he gets hurt, right? He moves from guard to tackle, and they still win the national championship. I mean, how awesome is that? That's impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely a big story.
All right, that put me on the Vikings here. Okay. I feel like the Vikings have everything filled out on offense. I think they've got everything figured out pretty well. I think they have a great team. I think they're still going to be very competitive. So we need to beef up the defense. We need to beef up the secondary a little bit. That Brian Flores defense. And there's a guy that I think fits Brian Flores perfectly. It's the guy on the top of the board right here, Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia, 3-year starter in the SEC, team captain type of guy. Munchpel type of guy, as they say. That's a Brian Flores type of guy. That's going to help beef up their secondary out there in Minnesota a little bit.
No, he needs to fall to the Ravens. You're not supposed to pick him. Not supposed to
I
pick
saw
him.
you shaking your head, and I knew that was where you're going with it. I was like, why does he hate that pick for? No, I like it. But see, I could have gone with Will Johnson here, the cornerback out of Michigan. Either one of these guys, I think, falling this low in the draft, I think either one's a steal for a defense right now for a secondary.
Yeah, the Ravens need Malachi Starks. We just need him.
Okay, that's back to me, I think. I'm at 25 for the Texans, my hometown here, Houston, Texas. Gosh, man, I actually kind of liked Simmons, and then I liked Donovan Jackson because, man, we need offensive line help pretty bad. We just traded our guy, Laramie Tunzel, to the Commanders, and now we're trying to rebuild all these guys with a zillion 1 and 2 year contracts, and just seeing how it all shakes out. It's oh, who's still on the board here? We do need a receiver.
I was going to say, we have only seen what? Have we seen a receiver come? I mean, I guess
I took Ted.
You did take McMillan?
I took Ted McMillan to the Jets.
He's
Okay,
been off the board. Yeah.
so he's the only true wide receiver off the board. There's I talked about Matthew Golden earlier. I'm not going to sway your pick here, Simon, but I talked about him earlier. Grew up in Houston, played in Austin. I don't know.
He's
Matt-
he's fantastic, man. Like everybody raves on Matthew Golden, how fast he is and how he runs the routes and everything. But I gotta take Egbuka, man. This is we have CJ Stroud as our quarterback, right? So they played together at Ohio State. He threw him passes, and like Emeka was just like he was more like a slot receiver because Ohio State had so many people to throw the ball to. But like if you see him, he runs the route so fluid, he's so clean, he doesn't drop anything. It's like he's already got that rapport with Stroud, and I just we're banged up in receivers. We got the line, but I think we're going to go back for the line in the second round here because it's really more of a left guard, left tackle. I think there'll still be somebody we can take there. But Egbuka, at 25, going back with his college quarterback and the receiving core that I just think it's a good fit for the Texans. I would have taken Simmons and I would have taken Jonathan Jackson if they were still on the board, but with both of them gone, I'm going to go back to the receiver. We'll go with Egbuka, number 25, the Texans.
Who do the Texans have? They have Nico on one side.
Nico Collins, he's a speedster. They got Tank Dell, but he was kind of banged up. He was hurt last year. Gosh, who else? You got the depth chart there, Gav. Who else do we have catching balls out there?
Well, that's what.
Yeah, let me grab that for you.
What's his name from the Bills that went down? Diggs? Did he go down there? Is he still there?
No, Diggs is on the Patriots.
He's gone. Okay, that fills the hole then.
You're talking about Texans, Nico Collins. Oh, they got Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, Jaguars, yep.
Christian Kirk came over. Tank Dell's out for probably the year. We'll see. John Mechie Jr.'s somewhere in the back.
Yeah,
I like that.
Justin
I like
Watson.
sliding him in Tank's shoes right there, actually. I like that a lot.
It's like the guys that Gav was mentioning that were going to the moon on the 49ers defense. It's like the same as a receiving core for the Texans. All right, wide receiver. I'm locking it in. 25. Let's go with it. Zach, you're up. 26. You're the Rams. You're the Rams on the clock.
I gotta be honest. I would be like very, very tempted here to grab like a Jackson Dart. Not that they need it, but it's like, hey, look, this is like the final year for Matthew Stafford. Like everybody's kind of looking at this as
over
like
Shador.
I think so, yes, because I think he fits the Sean McVay profile a little bit more, like as like the offense that McVay wants to run. I think like I said, I'd be really, really be thinking long and hard about doing that and taking a quarterback here, getting your successor. Granted, it's a first round pick. It's not somebody who's necessarily going to help you this year at all. You're going to be setting yourself up for the future, or at least trying to. I love Jackson Dart. I've been watching this guy since USC. I remember he came in as a freshman from injury. He had the war paint all over his face. I'm like, man, this guy's a gamer. He came out and just started slinging it, right? To be honest, I expected a little bit more from him at Ole Miss than what we saw when he, got paired up with
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin. I thought he was going to really take off. He did not, at least to the level that I thought. Look, I've had Heisman futures on this guy, I think 3 years in a row. Didn't get to the window on any of those 3 years. However, with all that being said, I still think the Rams ultimately, they need some interior line help. So I'm taking Josh Connerly, Oregon.
Nice.
Because that's somebody who can step in and help you today. And at the end of the day, when you're in the NFL, it's a today league. You need people in the first round that can help you right now. You can't really be taking projects in the first round. So as long and hard as I would think about Jackson Dart, I think you need Josh Connerly tackle.
Now, Zach, I got a question for you, man, because you got Will Johnson staring you in the face there, at a legitimate need at cornerback. Are you concerned about the injury, that he's just not going to be as good as he used to be?
I think that secondary is a position the Rams have done very well by taking guys later and in the middle rounds. Like Les Snead has been really good at finding value, both safety and corner at guys like kind of later on. So that's ultimately what kind of steered me away from Will Johnson. Yeah, look, the value's there. It's a great guy at corner to take there, but I just kind of trust it's more of a, hey, look, tackles get a little bit. I feel like there's a bigger drop off for tackles later in their draft than there are for corners.
Yeah, makes sense. Good point.
Very nice. I feel like there's a lot of good options here. Honestly, any of these guys at the top of the board would be good for the Ravens. I think the Ravens would love to get Starks, ideally, if he would fall. And then, there's a few other safeties. There's Nick and Memori, who I think that they would definitely take a close look at. I do see that they have like Kevin Winston Jr. and a few guys actually rated higher. And then, they've taken a lot of swings in the first round on wide receivers in my time. I mean, talk about Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Hollywood Brown, fucking Rashad Perriman. They've taken a lot of swings there. So obviously there's Luther Burden on the board, but for me, I mentioned his name actually before we started the draft, I think, when we were talking, and James Pierce Jr. is still here. And, there's concerns around his traits, right? Obviously people talk about not being a team player, right? A locker room distraction. But I think that's, you can't have a guy like that go to the wrong organization. But I think people like that, they tune out a little bit in Baltimore. The Ravens don't really let that kind of thing. They have a lot of continuity in Baltimore. Like for reference, the Ravens started 2 years before I was born in '96. Since then, they have had 2 general managers. I believe that they have had maybe like 3 head coaches in that time, unless it's just 2. If they went from Baldwin to Harbaugh, right? You just have a lot of continuity. You already have leadership in place with veterans on both sides of the ball. And their biggest problem really is pass rush. They have an aging Kyle Van Noy, who, shout out to him, still put up back-to-back years with double-digit sacks. David Owe, who got a 10-sack year, but a little bit of a weak 10-sack year in my eyes. And then there's just not a lot of other guys. They went after guys in free agency. They just didn't get anyone. Right now, when you look at, the defensive line, Michael Pierce, not that he's getting sacks, he was just a run stuffer, but he retired. So he's gone from there. So you kind of have, I think for them, their weakest area is defensive line. Now, I don't know how they do it. Every year they still somehow put up second or third most sacks. They just keep figuring out ways with, structuring different pieces and stuff like that. And you guys are the Jabba. But yeah, I'd be pretty excited to see James Pierce Jr. on the team. I'll go ahead and take him here for them. He's someone who I think I watched his combine and I was like, holy moly, this guy has some unique stats. And it's just not the type of stuff that you let out of the first round, just for those that hadn't seen it. So this is for a 245-pound, 6'5" edge rusher, okay? He's 245 and 6'5". He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash. You just don't see that. He did a 1.56 second 10-yard split, a 31-inch vert jump, a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. I mean, his athleticism is really, really high, in my opinion. His production score was ranked 4th out of all defensive ends and edges at the combine by Next Gen Stats. And overall, yeah, I mean, they ranked him with an 81 production score there. So I think he's a fascinating player. I'm pretty interested to see what it turns out with him. I just feel like he has such crazy physical traits that if you just let him loose on the Ravens line, who already combines so much schematical approach to their defense, I think he could really be a special player.
Does anyone know what is the character concerns all about? Is this just that he's grumpy in the locker room, or what is that even all about?
I just hear people talking about them. I mean, if you Google, his character, there's a whole freaking Reddit thing where they broke down. So this is what Dane Brugler's The Beast listed. And Dane Brugler, if you guys aren't familiar, he writes this giant manifesto called The Beast about the draft. So Dane Brugler said that he was arrested on traffic charges, speeding, driving on a suspended license, and failure to present insurance after a traffic stop in 2023, but all charges related dismissed. He had an interview process. Well, they said his interview process with the scouts is going to be crucial. And NFL scouts said, I want to be convinced that he actually loves football. And apparently, I don't know, he was a pescatarian his first 2 seasons at Tennessee. I don't know. Brugler gave
red flag.
Yeah, red flag.
Red flag.
Brugler gave him a second round draft grade. But obviously, we're at the end of the first round. There's not really much of a difference end of the first round to second round, except that you get the 5th year on some of these guys. So that's where I'm looking.
I like that. I mean, look, nobody could ever forget the Laramie Tunsil draft night character
you
issues, right? Where the picture surfaced, and it's
A
like,
gas
look,
mask.
like at the end of the day, that
well,
right, and like, look at today. This guy is he's like a top NFL lineman, and he has been ever since he entered the league. Like, I don't think any of those character issues, quote unquote character issues, have resurfaced at any point during his career. He's been a top flight contributor. So yeah, it's
real
fine.
quick. I have this very fun Laramie Tunsil story, and then also somebody just commented below and asked, "Who did we have going to the Colts at 14?" It was a tight end. Was it Warren?
Yeah, it was Warren from Penn
Tyler
State.
Warren.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I dropped that. All right, very funny Laramie Tunsil story. So by the way, Laramie Tunsil was supposed to be a Baltimore Raven. I don't know if you guys know this, but that draft was the highest that the Ravens have picked in my entire life. They picked 6 overall, and they had a terrible year the year before. Flacco was injured, and we needed O-line badly. And so Laramie Tunsil was the highest rated O-line in that class. Ronnie Stanley was the second highest rated, I believe. And so it was draft starts. We're picking 6, and that draft was the Zeke Elliott draft. It was the Jalen Ramsey draft. A few other pretty good guys in that draft. And so draft starts, and obviously the video comes out. Everyone starts freaking out. Not sure how much you guys follow Baltimore Ravens, but they're not going to pick a dude who just had a video come out of him smoking weed. It's just not how the Ravens act. They don't take chances like that and guys like that. And so the Ravens pass on him. They take Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie turned out to be really good. So that worked out. But obviously Tunsil has been elite. And I was always like, damn, like that was such an interesting thing. So anyways, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was talking with a buddy. This was when NFTs were huge. Talking with a buddy, and he goes, hey, how would you like to do a space with Laramie Tunsil? And I'm like, interesting. And he goes, yeah, we turned the video of him smoking the bong into an NFT, and we're going to auction it off for charity. He goes, how would you like to be on the space? I was like, absolutely, throw me in. So I end up on the space of Laramie Tunsil, and we're auctioning off the video, and we have a whole conversation. He's like, yeah, man, the Ravens, I was supposed to go to the Ravens. I was like, I knew it. And we had like a whole conversation. And anyways, long story short, Laramie Tunsil follows Wolf Financial, which is cool. So he's actually a follower too. So maybe he'll see the stream. Who knows?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. What an insane thing in hindsight, though, for that to even happen. Like that video drop on draft night and like shifted everybody's perception. And like, if you remember, like the panelists on the draft coverage, like they had no idea what they're like they didn't even know how to talk about it, because it's like, what do you even do? Like,
well, God,
I don't know.
God nailed it, because it's not going to be like they're going to drop down, and then a team that maybe wouldn't have taken him at 20 will take him at 30, or something like that. It's just that there's certain teams that just like they're not going to deal with that. Like you mentioned, like the Ravens would not deal with Tunsil. It's like the Lions are one of those cultures. They're just like whatever. Mike Green's got some stuff. There's players that like certain teams are just like that's a hard no. That's a pass from me, dog. It's just I'm not going to do it.
And then the Browns will take them. The Browns will take anybody.
Or the Chiefs, right? Exactly. Okay, moving on. I love this story. I love the NFT for Laramie Tunsil. Imp, you're up. You're the Lions. Speaking of Lions.
Boy, yeah, I'm the Lions, and that was my pick right there, to be honest. So I stole one from Gav a while ago. Gav just stole one right back from me. Aiden Hutchinson, we need somebody on the other side at the Lions to take some pressure off of Aiden. That dual edge report, that would be a perfect rush mate, I guess we should say. But because that's off the board, we got to go with the defensive tackle. We need a big guy in the middle now to shore up that defensive line. Throw DT up on there for me. And I'm going to surprise Zach here because, well, I'm not seeing. Okay, who's already off the board?
I was going to say, let's see what edges we got too. Here's some edges too, if you want to look at some of these guys.
Yeah, so the kid from A&M, Stewart, or was it Turner, I think? I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
There's two.
I can't remember which one it is. One of the kids from A&M was disappointing this last year. He was big. I mean, this guy's going first round. He only had like, I don't know, 6 sacks the entire year or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna pass on him. And the guy that I really like is Gosh, I'm not seeing him on your list here. Kenneth Grant.
Too late.
he's-
I grabbed him for the
Did you
Steelers.
get?
I was
is
gonna
Grant already
say
gone? Okay.
he's gone.
Not your
What
guy.
about-
Yep.
Yeah.
And Walter Nolan, is Walter Nolan already off the board too?
Also gone. Yep. Went to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang,
Gob got two
gummit.
from you
That-
there.
Boy,
There we go.
Let's see. Edge rushers and interior guys. You got, let's see, still on the board here. Donovan Ezeraku, Nick Scourton. He's another A&M guy. Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. Landon Jackson. Tyreek Williams.
Oh gosh. You know what? We're gonna roll the dice after all on the A&M kid, but we've got to get somebody on the other side. Shamar Stewart. We've got to get somebody on the other side with Hutchinson. You know, maybe he just had a rough season there with the numbers wise, but I still think production was there. He did get double teamed. He always had the back helping on him. When I remember, I watched several A&M games. I expected him to do more than he did, but maybe we'll look past that. And Gap forced my hand here with the Ravens picking ahead of us, so we'll take that. We'll give Aiden Hutchinson some help on the other side.
I like the pick. I mean, it's tough because you're right. He didn't have the sacks, and everyone was kind of just pointing at that. But I mean, if he's soaking up a double team every play and he's disrupting the quarterback and disrupting the plays, I mean, are you really complaining about what the number says? I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to get double teamed in the league that much. He may get chipped a few times, by a tight end or a back, but with Aiden Hutchinson's on the field, he's going to get the focus. So this is going to give him a chance to maybe, instead of being the focus like he was at A&M all year, maybe that takes some pressure off of him. So we'll give the kid a shot. Dan Campbell will coach him up, get the production out of him. You really can't pick wrong if you're the Lions right there. You're just trying to add to a stacked roster, in my opinion.
Yep. Okay, I'm up next with the Commanders. Man, I'm gonna run this card in because I don't know how Will Johnson is still on the board at number 29. Probably not my number one pick. I would have. I know. Sorry, Zach. You got right in front of you.
This was like
the Bills. We'll pick up the phone if you want to make a trade with us. But the Commanders grabbed Lattimore from my Saints. And he was really good a couple of years ago, but got banged up and just kind of injured. Just wasn't the same up there. I think the Saints got the better end of that trade, and it's just the Commanders. They don't really have like a good edge rusher, and they don't really have a good lockdown corner. They've got who's the guy? Sanderstill, Mike Sanderstill, the guy. I think he's from Haitian, Haitian dude. Is that the
Michigan man?
Michigan guy? Yep, he's in safety, but I think they still need a cornerback, and I think they're a little surprised that Will Johnson would still be there. So I'm not going to argue it, even though it's probably not the greatest positional need. I mean, to see him still there at 29, I got to get Zach more hate mail coming my way for taking another one of his picks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the Bills were like the draft room for the Bills. They were foaming at the mouth, thinking that Will Johnson was going to be there, dropping down, falling into their lap. But yeah, unfortunately, it will not be the case, right? So, let's see. I mean, you see a lot of things. I would still probably stick with the same position, just go Trey Amos, Ole Miss. Be very upset and disappointed that Will Johnson didn't quite get there. But yeah, I think that the positional need still holds. It's not like it's a reach here for Trey Amos. It's not like they are going, panicking that, hey, Will Johnson just went before us. Let's panic and reach way down the board and grab the next best guy. This is right around where I think Trey Amos is expected to be to begin with. So yeah, we'll just stick with who we originally thought we were going to have to take. And we got a little bit excited by Will Johnson dropping down, got some blue balls there, but yeah, we'll go ahead and stick with Trey.
The Commanders are not sorry. We are not sorry. We figured it out.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad pick though. Like honestly, I don't think you fell. I don't think the value fell there much at all, to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a pretty easy position here. I think Kansas City just needs offensive playmakers, to be honest. They don't have anyone that good besides Patrick Mahomes on their offense. When you look around, you have a bad retired Kelsey, always injured Hollywood Brown, always in prison Rashee Rice, following in Rashee Rice's footsteps, Xavier Worthy, slow ass Juju Smith-Schuster, can't catch a ball, Sky Moore. Yeah, I mean, they just need anybody here. I feel like there's a lot of good options, to be honest, at the moment for them. I think that, Luther Burden's obviously there on the board. I don't think he'd be a bad pick. I'd actually be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm really between him and the fact that TreVeyon Henderson is there. And I think that, they failed the Clyde Edwards-Helaire experience. Maybe they're down to go back and grab another RB. They have him ranked at 58 on PFF for TreVeyon Henderson. They actually have these guys like Cam Scatabo ranked higher than him. Cam Scatabo would be good for them too. I don't know, Zach, who do you think? I feel like they need either a running back or a wide receiver, right?
I would say, TreVeyon Henderson kind of feels like a chief,
Right.
But here's the thing. Here's what I was just going to say, even before you went into that, is like, we have 2 picks left, and Luther Burden and Matthew Golden are 2 guys that if you just asked me before this draft, it's like, what wide receivers are going to be taken in the first round? Like, both of those guys would have been gone.
Yeah.
Like, if not in these last 2 picks, like,
I
don't
think they'd be
that
very happy to get Luther Burden.
Yeah, and I thought
And
both
the
of those
Eagles are
guys,
going to be
like
pissed at the
Burden and
next
Golden.
pick if you take Luther Burden. I'm just letting you know the Eagles are pounding on the door wanting Luther Burden right now.
Because I'm just looking at it, and it's like, look, I look at, hey, over under like wide receivers, quarterbacks in the draft. Like, I look at it from a betting perspective, right? And it's like, when I start counting up the wide receivers that are going to be gone, like Luther Burden and Matthew Golden factor into that handicap.
Yeah.
So like, I
you
thought those
like
guys
Luther
were
Burden a lot more than what's it called, TreVeyon Henderson.
Probably yes, just because I think it's I don't.
Yeah, I feel to me like
I think that the Chiefs rotate running backs a lot.
I feel like
more
to me,
than, like,
I would say take Luther Burden here, and that's what I'm going to do, because just how this is dropping, I feel like they might be able to get Quinshad Judkins, right? Maybe Scatterville,
right? Exactly. Exactly.
It's a very deep running back draft. So yeah, I'll give them Luther Burden, which is crazy that they're getting him at 31.
Yeah, I mean, even Caleb Johnson, Iowa, I could see Caleb Johnson being like a Chiefs guy. There's plenty of guys they can find later on, and yeah.
Hate mail, Ryan. You took your guy.
Running back.
All right. Well, the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. That pains me to say that, but I tell you what, Luther Burden. Just to go back, Luther Burden is a Nick Sirianni guy. He is a Nick Sirianni guy. He's got some dog in him. He should go to Philadelphia. Like, I should be able to veto this pick, but I like the pick. Honestly, I think both of these teams are probably going to look for wide receivers here late in the first round, and I think they're going to be happy with either of these guys falling. Matthew Golden going to Philadelphia right here. I don't think you can let him go out of the first round and fall any deeper. He definitely, if he fell out of the first day, he would be snatched up. I mean, first pick on the second day. You've got a kid that's super fast. You got a kid that makes people miss. I think this is going to be a good compliment for Devontae Smith. You already have AJ Brown, your big target, so now you've got 2 fast targets to go with that. You still got Hurts slinging the ball around. Philadelphia gets better by adding either one of those 2 receivers, and in this case, it'll be the kid from Texas, Matthew Golden.
Another Longhorn off the board. I love it. And I love how we each pissed off the next pick, 4 in a row there, taking each of the guys, one pick in advance.
I got Gav once, he got me twice. That was unfair.
That's right. So there's the first 32. Is there a pick you really, really like or you really don't like out of the first round there?
I think that it's a really interesting one of Ibuka to the Texans. I think that they're going to be really happy with that. I think Stroud's going to be really happy with that. And I think that they needed it.
I think there's going to be a lot of teams mad that they weren't able to get Genty from Boise State. anywhere in the draft as high as he went. I think there's going to be a lot of teams upset about that. I think the best pick here is Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's the best player in the draft. I think number one made the most sense. That's my favorite pick by far.
The best player in the draft?
I think either Jackson Dart or Shedeur are going to end up going in the first round, and neither of them, and potentially both of them, will end up getting drafted in the first round. And we didn't take either of them here. So,
yeah, and I would say I think that the Commanders are so excited to see Will Johnson somehow there at 29. Like, they run the card in. But honestly, I think that Ryan Poles and the Bears to get Will Campbell. I mean, who was it that was picking out? I think that was you, Zach. I think that just like they would be so excited to see him fall to 10, I think.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was looking for, I feel like I had a lot of guys stolen out from it. Oh, yeah. Will Campbell to the Bears at 10. Yeah. No, for sure. And, again, it's just you can't have too much offensive line help. I think the weapons that that Caleb has to throw to are fine. He just needs protection.
Kind of funny.
So.
Zach's the only one who took tight ends. I'm the only one who took wide receivers.
Yeah. We all stayed in like our positional corners. It feels.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, I do have to jump off here.
A lot of depth.
I think it was a great cast. I've got to go. I appreciated it. If you guys want to keep breaking it down, well, I'll probably be watching on my phone, but I've got to get these kids bathed in bed. But I had fun. I think I won the draft. I don't know. Maybe that's personal opinion there, but we'll have to ask the audience.
I had a lot of fun with this too. I love talking shop about NFL football, and I think I like the draft as much, if not more, than this season.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and not bad. We did around 6,000 viewers.
Great.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome. Everybody, appreciate y'all. Believe that is going to do it. I'm